Footy fans, what is up? Alrighty, it's here, it's upon us. Game 2. I know every year everyone sort of says, oh, it's the most hotly anticipated game, in years of Origin football. But I think this one we can absolutely attest that this could most definitely stand up to be one of those pivotal games in Origin history. We all know the effects of the Brian Fletcher grenade that apparently set Queensland off into their winning ways. But no, I honestly believe with the youth and momentum that New South Wales has at the moment, but also now I guess the reunion special of having the luxury of Thurston and Slater return for Queensland. I don't think it can ever be ignored as a New South Wales fan that's going to make a absolutely marked difference to the team that you've seen come up against you in game 1. So I don't have too much video or anything for this podcast. So for those that are just listening along, don't feel like you're missing out on too much. It's just going to be a little bit of a screenplay, just with some team lists. I'll get back to that later, but. Yeah, so just running through, no doubt if you're listening to this, you're well and truly aware of who the teams are and who's in them, so I'll just assume that already. But yeah, just some of the stats, I'll read them out to you. So this is just something that I noticed. I guess it wasn't hard to notice, everyone fucking notices it. The spine for Queensland, it's going to be absolutely game changing. I think we're definitely going to see a much tighter game come tomorrow night. I'm recording this Tuesday night, so tomorrow night for me at the moment, be tonight by the time you guys hear this. So yeah, just to give you an idea of the experience that this spine has. So between Slater, Thurston, Cronk and Smith, 18 grand final appearances, 124 state of origins and 147 test matches for Australia. In comparison to the New South Wales spine of Tedesco, Maloney, Pearce and Peets, you have 4 grand final appearances, 25 state of origins and 2 test matches. So Cameron Smith alone has nearly got double the experience of the entire New South Wales spine. Now I know that numbers and stats and they only hold so much weight to a certain extent for a certain period of time, but you can't ignore the experience that those 4 players bring to this Queensland outfit and the impact that they're invariably going to have. That's not to say that they can't go out and play absolutely fucking shite either. That's definitely a possibility. If it's a possibility, it can definitely happen. But I just think the way that... So let's just scroll down now, just so we're having a look at this Queensland team. So again, we see Slater comes in fullback. Darius Boyd's been placed in the centres. I think there's going to be a big question mark there. As a New South Wales fan, that would get me very excited in the sense that centre is a very, very, if not the most difficult position to defend in on a rugby league field. Just the amount of double defending that you have to do throughout various times during a game. We've got to remember now that Darius Boyd has very much established himself as a fullback, especially in the absence of Billy Slater completely, for the last 2 years basically. So to now put him in the front line, Darius in the front line where he has to be asked to make all these tackles, we see here, he's only made 100 tackles. So all these stats that you're seeing here, I believe, are from Clubland. So he's made 100 tackles this season. So it's going to be very, very interesting. You see Valentine Holmes there, he's only made 26. So I guess, I don't know, contrasting wise, maybe it doesn't make too much of a difference. But for me, that just learning that new role ever so slightly, even throughout those wonder years for Queensland, he was on the wing. So I believe this will be the first time Darius Boyd has ever played in the centres for Queensland. Yeah, we know Thurston and Cronk are going to do their thing. I'm glad that Jared Wallace will start. Just the fact that he plays so many minutes in Clubland, it makes sense to try and milk as many minutes as we can. Felt that's sort of where we lacked a little bit and why we probably got overrun in the middle of the ruck in game 1, just with Narpers. Obviously, that was his first game and he's not really renowned for punching out any massive minutes. He only sort of averages around that 45 to 50 minutes in clubland for the Roosters, so to expect much more. And then he picked up that little foot injury, which didn't help his cause either, so just sort of spanner in the works. So yeah, changes to that starting side. We've got in the forwards anyhow, Jared Wallace and Gavin Cooper, and I very much like Papali going back to the bench. I thought that's what should have been the case in game one. He's very much an impact player. We need someone who's going to come out and really make a difference and dent that line, because the Queensland side just didn't dent that the New South Wales defensive line in game one. They didn't bend or challenge anyone there. And obviously there's been a lot of speculation around Tim Glasby. You've heard it said 1,000 times before. It doesn't necessarily matter how many games of club footy or you have or haven't played. Once you pull that maroon jersey on, or a sky blue jersey for that matter, I think they find it just as important. You're going to grow legs and arms that you didn't know you had, and you're going to get a gas tank that you didn't know you had. You're going to be called on reserves that you didn't know you had, just simply from the caliber of players that you're playing with. And also because this majority of this spine, bar Jonathan Thurston, he plays with week in, week out. That's going to do him massive favours. So I can't see him taking a backward step, and I can't wait for Cohen Hess to get out there and wreak some havoc. Expect Cohen Hess to show up on that left edge outside Gavin Cooper and really test the halves and the right defensive edge for New South Wales, much like he did with great success against Parramatta a couple of weeks ago. So that's where I see Cohen Hess's involvement for Queensland playing out. Just to scoot up ahead here and have a look at this New South Wales side. I do love these halves pairings. James Maloney, I know a lot of Queensland supporters love to hate him, he's a bit of a grub and whatnot, but I really love the way this guy plays. He doesn't take a backward step. He's a very fierce competitor, very sure of what skills and ability he brings to a football side, and I think he complements Mitchell Pearce really, really well. Before Mitchell Pearce went off with that concussion, he was having an absolute screamer in game one, and was very much the contributing factor as to why they did get on the front foot, just with his creativity off the back of the platform that New South Wales forwards set for him. And then, was just able to create some space at varying times and just back in and around the ruck, just his genuine push. And we've seen the try that I'm pretty sure it was for Feeder that ended up tipping in the ball for his own try. Although that Queensland's spine is going to add a lot, the forwards still need to go out there and do the job that they're now being asked to do. All these new players, so that weren't there in game one, so Wallace, Cooper, Hess and Glasby, those four blokes need to roll their sleeves up and definitely make a difference, because the amount of momentum that Woods and Fafita generated early, and then Clemmer, Graham, Travojevic, he did pretty much what I said he was going to do. He was going to be one of those blokes that was out there, racked up a shit ton of stats, and sort of like, oh wow, yeah, he actually did do a fair bit of work, but I didn't really recognise him. I guess if you're going to draw any comparisons, he's going to do a similar job to what we need to Queensland needs Tim Glasby to do. The linchpin, I think, for New South Wales, honestly, is this man here, Wade Graham. I get Jack Bird to a certain extent, but I think Wade Graham very much has far greater footy brain than what Jack Bird does. Jack Bird's very much an instinctual player, has the self-confidence where he knows that he can grab the game by the scruff of the neck if he needs to, and he can sort of flip it on his head, and that comes more through instinct rather than Wade Graham. You can definitely tell he's a student of the game, reads play very, very well. The multitude of skills that the bloke has for his size as well, he's not going to take a backward step, and just his ferocity shooting out of the line, his defensive reads are very, very good. And I hope he gets more minutes. I didn't think he was on the field for long enough, and he contributed. I'm pretty sure he got a try assist, or at least helped design a play that led to a New South Wales try. I very much remember that. And if it wasn't for, I guess, the impact that they're chasing for out of the majority of this New South Wales bench, I would easily have him starting over Josh Jackson. Um, to an extent, I'd be even tempted to put Frizzell on an edge, Jackson back to the bench, and Graham into lock, and just let him do whatever the fuck he wants. He's that sort of player. He can actually have that sort of impact. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I thought David Clemmer was a little bit going back into club footy against, was the Dragons, wasn't it, that they ended up losing to on the Monday public holiday game there down there, 16-2. So he won't be looking over his shoulder, I don't think. I think that's probably the wrong terminology to wrap around it, but he hasn't exactly been setting the world on fire. He really came out and burst onto the scene, got the win in his first game because he intimidated all the Queensland forwards and whatnot. But once Queensland adapted to that and sort of returned serve, we haven't really seen him be quite as damaging, or at least nowhere near as damaging as what Fafita and Woods have been at Origin level. So yeah, look, I'm really, really excited for this game tomorrow. Unquestionably biased towards a Queensland outcome, although I did tip New South Wales game 1. I'm very much more confident this is basically the team that I would have selected come game 1, maybe bar Tim Glasby. Not that I have a problem with him being there, he just wasn't someone that was on my radar as far as representative football goes. So yeah, just to throw a few more stats down in ANZ Stadium. So overall, Queensland are only 7 from 23 starts at ANZ. There's one draw in that as well. But they are 7 from the last 12. The last time that there was a 13-plus margin at ANZ Stadium was in 2004 when Brad Fittler and Trent Barrett were the halves. So there's a bit of a throwback for all you footy fans. It's been a long time between drinks since Rabsy and Gus were able to call those two names in a sky blue jersey. So, a lot has changed since then. So since that time, there's been a bit more of a Queensland succession down there, and obviously we've gone through the decade dynasty, and yeah, it'll be exciting to see how these young forwards stand up and really try and I guess etch into their fabric as a player what it means to play state of origin football, and try and learn as much as they can about how to operate at that level while this amazing Queensland spine is still intact. Because I don't know, I think at times it's hard not to get sort of caught up in everything and realise what we are witnessing year in, year out at this state of origin level. The fact that you got Slater, Thurston and Smith are all in the top 15 most capped state of origin players in history. I think the only blue that's playing tomorrow night that's in that same category. Oh, and Darius Boyd's in there too. The only other blue that's in that category is Jared Hayne. He's the only one. So we're talking about a wealth of experience at this level, and they just do it so well. Yeah, so for me, I really can't wait. I know it's going to be close again. I can't see it blowing out either way now, not just simply because what's at stake. You've got guys that have found their feet quite well, even though they're young for New South Wales. Tedesco, he's had such a great start to his Origin career. Frizzell's had such a great start. Jack Bird, the list goes on, but there's still enough. Whilst there's not a great deal of Origin experience, Pearce, I believe, is probably the most experienced player out there, and he hasn't tasted that much success. But we got to remember he's only 28 and he's already chalked up. What do we got there? This will be his 16th appearance for New South Wales. So, it's not like it's all said and done. So, yeah, again, it's going to be if those new Queensland forwards can tip the scales and really return fire and help suppress that initial onslaught that we know is going to come again from the New South Wales forwards. I really think that Queensland could build a case just with their finishing ability. When you've got those four names, Slater, Thurston, Cronk, Smith, you just know that Valentine Holmes and Dane Gaga are probably in for a good night. You know, they're going to get their opportunities. They just need to make sure that when they do arise, that they capitalise on them. Because otherwise, you know, New South Wales are very much going to return serve. If they don't tighten up that ruck, the Queensland defence, it's going to be just a repeat of game one, unfortunately. So that's going to be the biggest area of change that needs to occur. Alrighty, guys. Well, yeah, I just wanted to keep that short and sharp. So my prediction is, oh, look, I guess it's more out of hope. I hope it's Queensland by one. I really hope it's decided by a point. Yeah, but I really think it's going to be like 1-4, really, really tight either way. I wouldn't even take it out to 1-12. I don't even think it'll blow out that far. That's how close I think this game's going to be. So yeah, super excited. Again, we'll do a breakdown. So still probably there's going to be heaps of content from me this week. I've already hit you yesterday with the review from the round. So we've got the preview now. We have the Origin breakdown, and then we'll have round 16 preview for the NRL. So plenty of footy action coming your way with Footy Rants. And yeah, again, as I always keep saying, as long as you guys keep listening, I'll keep pushing out the content and continue to try and make this better. Alrighty, gang, enjoy your Origin footy and fucking go those Queenslanders, you beauty.